Hello, this is Joseph Wilcox once again doing Unit 7, Assignment 1, now going on to European Court of Human Rights. So the history of it. So it was created in 1959, that was the start of it, to make sure that all countries were allowed human rights. This is done. They created the European Court of Human Rights so that they could sort out the states and the countries that are denying people human rights. Because obviously, in the poor countries, such as poor countries, I'm not going to name countries, but in Africa and Asia, where there's a lot of poverty, or where there's areas of poverty, then they might have their human rights taken away from them, and they might not be able to have their human rights as they can't afford it, and the environment around them can't afford it, and the communities won't be able to supply it. So that isn't always possible. Yet in Europe, where we generally associate it with a better off, more wealthy continent, then we expect all the countries and states to be able to allow their civilians, citizens living there, be able to allow them to have their human rights. So in the 57 years that European Court of Human Rights has been, they've delivered over 10,000 judgments, whether they are saying that the state or the country is correct and that it was a mistake made, or whether they're suggesting ways that it can be improved, or whether they're saying you have to improve this now. They often give help on how to improve stuff like policing, if the police is being too harsh, or improve certain aspects to make sure that the citizens living there actually do get the human rights that they should be entitled to. Because not the country and the state doesn't always know. So this is within 47 countries that they are making sure that human rights are actually being allowed for people and not being taken away. So the governments they've basically given their governments legislations and practices to carry out in a wide range of areas, from education to feeding, food and water, just a basic amount. The court cases are always meeting new challenges, as nobody makes the same mistake twice, really. And it might not be the country's fault, or it might not be the state's fault, but if it does, then it has to be made sure that it is changed. And if it isn't their fault, then they'll be looking at how they can improve it and how they can kind of get themselves in control and sort things out. So then, what is the aim of the organisation? So their aim is very clear, is to make sure that every country abides by the Human Rights Act, and not deny anyone of their human rights. So there's a Universal Declaration of Human Rights. He wants every country in the world to abide by that. And then there's the European Human Rights, that they want every country in Europe to abide by. And then obviously the countries make their own rights as well, or adapt them slightly, but they still have to be fitting in with a general meaning of the rights, and make sure that they can actually abide by them and not take them away from the civilians and the people living there, the citizens, sorry. So then, the organisation targets every country in Europe, really. It wants to target every country in the world, but being as a European Court of Human Rights, it mainly focuses on Europe. It wants to make sure that everybody is treated fairly and equally, no matter of race, age, gender, such on such forth, to make sure that there's no discrimination or any sort of unfair treatment against them. So then, where is the organisation working today? It's working in every country in Europe to make sure that they get the rights that they deserve, and that everybody's being treated equally and fairly. they will be having ongoing discussions with near enough every country on how to improve, what they're doing right, what they're doing wrong, and stuff like that. So then this impacts the public services. It doesn't impact them badly, but it makes sure that they have to do things the right way around. So you can't, for example, the police can't arrest someone unlawfully or due to suspicion because of their race or because of their age, or because of their religion, or because of their political beliefs. If someone believes in UKIP, which is a very debatable party, then they are allowed to believe in that, as long as they're not going too far and committing crimes of racial abuse or anything. Then they are allowed to believe that, and they are entitled to their beliefs. So the police have to treat them in the correct way, and they can't take away their rights for no reason. Otherwise, the European Court of Human Rights won't be very happy, and they'll end up having to come to sort out their laws and legislations. Or if it's just the officers who've done it wrong, then they would be losing the jobs. So then that is European Court of Human Rights. Thanks.